Hi, my name is Lewis. I just want to show you how to install one of these Adjustanuts on a Strat style neck. That's what this video is going to be for. Adjustanut comes in a nice little package that looks like this. And what we're going to do is put it on a Strat style neck that, unlike the Gibson style, this has a dip right here. So mainly what you do is you take something like something not too hard, something like this, and you just tap that nut. You'll want to tap the nut out of there first. Okay. And once you tap the nut out, you'll notice that there's a slot here. And what you have to do to put the Adjustanut on there is you have to get rid of the slot. So what we do is we shave the wood down right here along on the front side of the neck, and that way you get rid of the slot. And the Adjustanut is going to go on there kind of like that. Now, the way I shave that slot down, because I have no patience, is I just go to my grinder and I take the neck very carefully. Basically how I do it. Very carefully go in there and I'll shave that down just like that. And without nicking the front side. You don't want to nick the front side here because it'll look funny. So anyway, once you shave that down, you'll notice that the Adjustanut will fit on there. Now you want to come over here a little closer. So the next thing I want to do is when I put the Adjustanut on there, I want to rock that with my fingers and make sure that it doesn't rock. I want to make sure that it's flat on there and it's not rocking and moving around in a weird way. So, and the other thing I do is I take the prongs on the Adjustanut. Normally these will come flat and lined up, but since all of these necks have a radius to it and they have a little curve to the top, what I do is I'll bend these prongs so that I have a radius on that Adjustanut. If you'll notice, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a curve to it, right? And it might be a little more than the radius on the neck, but that's okay. It's all going to adjust. And then I'll put it on there, and then I'll get ready to run my adjustment screws, which you can see here. Now normally before I run these adjustment screws, I'll throw all the adjustment screws in a little thing like this, and I'll use a little bit of a mild thread locker, not a hardcore one, but just a mild thread locker, because I kind of like to stiffen those babies up a little bit so that they don't move. But I haven't had a problem with them moving. But every once in a while when we ship a guitar across 3,000 miles of distance, the end user will tell me, hey, one of the Adjustanuts adjusted itself a little bit along the way, because I guess it's a rough ride, and so they might have to readjust it. But it's really easy to do, but a little bit of thread locker solves that problem. And you can still adjust it if you use the mild form, not the red bottle, but this blue stuff works a little bit better for me. Okay, now I'm going to show you the way I put the Adjustanut on here. So basically what I do is I have my adjustment screws in there. I have the prongs bent to an approximate radius on the neck so that it kind of matches. And then I set it on there. And what I do is I take one of these little tiny files. Oh, here's a file, here's a good one. And I'll drop it across a couple of frets. And I put it into the groove of the Adjustanut, and I start moving that Adjustanut up and down. And notice how that Adjustanut's moving? And that's because the screws, when I ran them just flush with the back. I didn't want them poking out. I want them just flush with the back. That's about 3 turns of the little screw. 3 turns each, and then you'll be flush with the back. So then it's on there, but obviously it's too low because it's not adjusted upward, it's all the way down. So, and I'll put this in there and I'll notice that this moves up and down, and that's not exactly what I want. So what I do is I get a little Allen wrench here, and I'll begin to take the high E here, and I'll turn that until I bring that finger up a little bit, okay? And right there, I'm still sensing a little bit of movement, so I'll turn that, I'll give it another turn, and right there, now I'm not sensing any movement. I'm going to back it off a little bit. I want to be right where the movement kind of stops. And it's moving, I'm going to go a little more. So this is a back and forth kind of a deal here. Still moving a little bit, I'll move it again. Let's see here. And I think that's going to do it. I get it. Basically, I'm adjusting the Adjustanut fingers upward to where I think we're going to need to be. Now I did that side. Now I'm going to do the low E side. And over here, see that movement there? I'm getting some movement. So I'm going to take the low E side and I'm going to adjust that finger upward a little bit, and then I'm going to test it again. And boy, that feels about right. A little bit more, I think. Okay, now the Adjustanut, the height of this finger and this finger, the two end fingers, and since this whole thing is connected together, it kind of raises the middle ones a little bit too, because there's no tension on them from the strings. But anyway, now that I've adjusted this one and this one, and it's about right, now it's ready to actually mount. Now I can actually run my screws. The thing is, I didn't want to run the screws without adjusting it first. I adjust it first and get it about right, then I run the screws. The reason why is because if it's down like that and you run the screws, as you raise it up, just because of the geometry, it also kind of backs away from this lip right here, and that will change your intonation slightly. It is probably imperceptible, but if you're kind of a perfectionist, you might not want to do that. So what you want is Adjustanut all the way up against this this side of the where the nut's supposed to go. You want it all the way up against there, so your intonation is correct and your scale is going to work. And then you want to adjust this to get it about the right height. You just don't want it all the way down. You want it up a little bit so it's about the right height. And then you're safe to pre-drill these holes and run your mounting screws. Okay, now that we've got this Adjustanut sort of dialed in, with the two prongs on the end, and it's not rocking, and it looks like it's going to work good. Now we set it on there, and we're going to drill our mounting holes and run the screws. Now, this is a drill bit that's roughly 0.094 in diameter. Not sure what fraction that is, but it's a 0.094. And what you want to do, if you'll notice, is put a little bit of tape on there so that you know how far you're going to drill. The last thing you want to do is drill all the way through the neck by accident, and that's easy to do. Don't ask me how I know that. Okay, here we go. Sure, out of the way. What you do is you put this on there, and you want to line this up. You don't want it over here or over here. You want to line it up so that you got the correct shoulders for your strings, and just make sure you take your time and make sure it's lined up good, right? And then just hold it down, and you're going to drill one of the screws on the end. I guess I'll take this one. I'm going to start here. I'm going to rotate in and drill. And that screw is now drilled in there. So now, actually I'll just run that by hand. Okay, now I got a Phillips screwdriver, and I'm just going to go ahead. Basically I drill one hole and I run one screw because that helps to hold it. And I don't necessarily need to torque this thing down. It's just once that thing gets so it doesn't really move much anymore, it's good. It doesn't have to be tight. It's just a matter of holding it in place. Okay, so I've got that anchored down pretty good. I'm still centered. Now I'm going to run my second. Oops. I was going to run that drill that way. But okay, now I'm going to run my second hole. Here we go. Bingo. And then I'm going to run another mounting screw like this. I'm going to drill these other two. And then run these screws. So this is essentially how I do it when the neck is not installed on the guitar. However, I've done plenty of these where the neck is completely installed on the guitar. It's not really a problem. What you do is loosen the strings by turning the tuners. You loosen the strings and just push the strings all the way off the side of the neck. And that way you can get in there and you can shave that wood on the Strat style neck, because the wood has to be shaved so that it looks kind of like that. You can do it while the guitar's on there. It's a little trickier, but you can do it. So now run these screws, and again, I'm not getting them tight. The hole is the screw going into the wood has just got a snug fit to it, but I'm not tightening it down like super tight. It's just, as long as it's not moving, it's fine. I'm not torquing anything down. But anyway, that's it. It's ready to go. So a neck like this is ready to mount on the body, and you can string it up, and then you can take a little adjuster here, and you can begin adjusting your string height up. Now what I do is I'll start with a center two. I'll start with like this guy right here, and I will adjust those up, and I'll work my way out towards the end in order to set the action at the first fret exactly where I want it. And usually I'll dial each finger up until I get a little buzz on the string. Like when it's down, the string's actually going to be touching that first fret. So you dial it up until it's actually buzzing a little bit, and then I'll go another half a turn, and she's perfect. And it's so very low that you're gonna be able to fret those strings with absolutely almost zero effort. So, but that's how you do it on a Strat neck. Now on a Gibson style or a guitar with a 17-degree tilt back head, it's actually easier because you don't have to grind the wood down. You don't have to shave this part off. It's already off. You just knock the nut out of there and take your Adjustanut and just mount it up. And that's how that works.